there's a lot of things we do. So I'm going to not dive into the product itself, but give you a high-level overview of where the products are and how they can be used in an AWS journey. So we have a lot of our customers who have transformed and adopted cloud. Right? So one of the strategies we recommend to customers as they adopt cloud is to consider particular use cases in a pre-migration, post-migration, and while you are in the cloud, some other additional use cases that they can get benefits out of using our products. So with that, I'll first cover the set of products we recommend for our customers in the pre-migration stage. So pre-migration stage is, if you can notice here, is Data Insight, Infomap, Enterprise Vault, and SaaS backup use cases. So I'll come to what those specific products do. So Infomap is a product we've launched around 3 years back. What it does is it gives customers visibility into their data footprint. Right? So you can very quickly, using Infomap, figure out what's active data, what's data that is not being accessed. And if you can notice on the top level, it quickly identifies across your data footprint where data is located, what type of data is considered orphan. Now, orphan data is classified as data which is created, but the user ID no longer exists. So it's kind of like a file without a user that is associated. It could be files that are created by an application on a temporary basis, but it's consuming storage. We also quickly identify data types that we call as stale. Stale is data that is sitting there, but no one's accessing that type of data. Any guesses how much on average customers have stale data? Any guesses? So on average, about 44% of data in customers' environment don't get access over a 3-year lifespan. Then we also quickly identify things, data types that are called non-business data. Now, there's a lot of non-business data that enters our storage environments, right? So it happens in a number of ways. All of us carry around smartphones, right? Which have videos and all kinds of content. We bring it into office, and it starts running out of battery. What do? Connect a USB cable and charge it. And what happens when you connect a USB cable? It starts syncing. So data enters the organization using unintentional ways. So effectively, what Infomap helps customers figure out is get a good grip of their data footprint. Now, we recommend customers do this before they move to the cloud, so that when you move to the cloud, you don't move things which are non-business. You save on migrating things which are stale from an EBS volume, and then you might, for example, move the data which is stale to like Amazon Glacier, for example, right? So this is one of the most recommended actions for customers from us. Now, if you have a product like NetBackup or Backup Exec being used to back up your data, Infomap can feed out the backup catalog. So if you look at what a backup product typically does for a customer, it backs up data on a daily basis, right? So if it touches all aspects of data, information about data is already in the backup server's catalog, right? So all what Infomap has to do is connect to the catalog, and it has all the information to give you this kind of visibility. So Infomap doesn't require you to scan data on an exhaustive basis. It's pretty easy to get up and going if you're already using NetBackup to backup. Now, if you are using an application like, for example, Box or OneDrive, or running Documentum, for example, those applications also have metadata. So Infomap can also get this kind of visibility out of connecting to an application of that sort. So it doesn't have to be connecting to a Veritas backup product. Now, if you want more deeper insight into data, we have another product. It's called Data Insight. Data Insight can also look inside the files and help figure out things like personally identifiable information, PII, or information related to GDPR, credit cards, Medicare records, and whatnot, which you may want to have a different approach as you migrate data to cloud. Right? So with things like GDPR or the Australian privacy regulation, you're required to know and locate where data is. So Data Insight can do that level of visibility. Now, this is a snapshot of a company that ran Infomap across their data footprint. So they have approximately, they use Infomap across 717 terabytes of data. And yeah, the facts are there. They, like everyone, identified 44% of stale data. Duplicates, they identified non-business data. They put in an archiving tier to move data from primary storage to tier 2 storage. So that saved them a whole bunch of money. And they also implemented an archiving solution to take care of data and eliminate the duplicates and put in place an automated retention scheme. Because one of the things that happen to us these days is once an item of data gets created, it gets a life of its own. No one removes it. No one knows how long it should be kept. When you have an archiving policy, that problem is automated and taken care of. And it's forecasted for them to save a whole lot of more money as well. Right? So these are real-life use cases. Cloud comes in many forms nowadays. Right? So we consume infrastructure as a service. We consume storage as a service. And we also consume software as a service. Right? So software as a service, environments also need a backup and a recovery regime. Right? So one of the common misconceptions that a lot of customers have is that when you go to cloud, is there backup included? Well, not really. There is high reliability of storage that is given to you, high reliability of compute that is given to you, but retaining items that are uploaded to, say, your emails, which is in Office 365, is your responsibility. Right? So we launched a purpose-engineered product for protecting data for SaaS applications, and we simply call it Veritas SaaS Backup, right? Innovative name. And with SaaS Backup, all you need to do is sign up for a service. We take care of protecting this data, and it gets stored in a Veritas cloud, right? So when you when you migrated your ERP to, say, SFDC, you don't have servers and storage for SFDC in your data center. It's in the cloud. So the backup offering is also delivered in the cloud. All you have to do is sign up for a service which assures a daily recovery point and 12 months of retention by default, at least. So if you want more than 12 months of retention, we can add on to that as well. So that was some consideration if we are planning to go to the cloud as to things you should plan for. Now, if you're in the cloud, there are some other advanced use cases we recommend customers to consider. So if you're protecting data, and you want data to be portable, and if you're using a product like NetBackup today, NetBackup can backup straight to like an AWS S3 bucket natively, right? So you don't need gateways and all kinds of other things to send data to the cloud. NetBackup has the native capabilities to write data straight to an AWS S3 bucket and also tear it off to Glacier automatically, natively within the NetBackup capabilities. The other things that you can expect from NetBackup today is also a rich RESTful API. Right? So if you're adopting and if you're using AWS today, I'm sure you are using some level of orchestration tools like Puppet and Chef, and you're already working with RESTful APIs. NetBackup now also has a RESTful API so that you can integrate with backup policy configuration, drive backup or recovery outcomes through an API. You don't have to use a user interface to work with the backup product today. So if you want to use the RESTful API, you could perhaps drive things like cloning of data from one server to another through NetBackup as a driver doing the work. Similarly, now we also introduced late last year a deduplication product to deduplicate data that you write to like Amazon S3. So what that means is that not only can you replace tapes economically today with using Amazon S3, you can also deduplicate data when you're writing data to Amazon S3. So you can replace tapes economically with Amazon, and now you can also save on storage consumed in Amazon using the deduplication product that we also have. So I'll show you some popular use cases. Now, the deduplication product for Amazon is called Cloud Catalyst. It's one of the most adopted technologies from our customers these days since we launched it. So this is a case of a customer in Brisbane. They had 140 terabytes of data that they were backing up on a full month end. What they did was they put our Cloud Catalyst deduplication engine in between AWS and their NetBackup environment. The first backup reduced to 50 terabytes, right? So deduplication pools need to be seeded. It took 5 days over a 1 megabit megaport link. So they didn't have the fastest connection to AWS, but even with that link, they could get the full backup up to AWS in 5 days, and it reduced to 50 terabytes. Now the magic started happening when the next month end had to be done. Right? So once the dedupe pool is seeded, the next month end is only incremental changes. So now their month end goes up to AWS in a matter of 2 days. Right? So now they have cost savings and time savings, both. Veritas Access is a software-defined storage platform. Now, if you know Veritas, the company started as a storage company. Right? We were building volume managers, file systems. That was bread and butter of what Veritas did. Veritas Access is a software-defined storage platform. Right? So with Veritas Access, what you do is you put behind Veritas Access your DAS, your SANS storage, and you can also put Amazon S3 as one of the storage layers under Veritas Access. And inside the storage platform, you can define policies for relocation of items. So you can define a policy in Access to say that if an item is not accessed or modified in 3 months, move it out to Amazon S3. Don't keep it on-prem. Right? So with Access, you get a storage platform that can be accessed using NFS, CIFS, or S3 protocol. So it's got its own S3 interface. And it will automatically tier the objects from the Access storage platform to AWS S3. When the object is being accessed, an older object is being accessed, it will automatically recall and present it back to you, right? And the interface can continue as over NFS, and things are available. So this is what Veritas Access does. Another use case that goes into our history of capabilities is our clustering and DR functions. So if you know Veritas for many years around, one of the things we used to do in the past in on-premise infrastructures is build clusters and enable customers to do disaster recovery. So we've taken the clustering agents and the DR framework and built a product which is designed to work with cloud infrastructures. And that's Veritas Resiliency Platform. So what the Resiliency Platform allows you to do is allows you to have any on-premise infrastructure be DR ready to fail over to an Amazon cloud. Right? So the way it works is that your on-premise workloads, your machines will have an I/O splitter. It grabs all the write I/Os and populates the writes in a replication appliance. The replication appliance replicates periodically to AWS and keeps it there. When you have a DR event, you click a button, it fails over and instantiates the workload in AWS. While it's doing failover, it can also do the IP address changes and modify the DNS entries, right? So the end user experience can be transparent. And the other thing that Resiliency platform does is it has logic to do business level failovers. So for example, today our applications are multi-tiered, right? So you might have a database which is running on Linux, and you might have a web tier that is built on Windows. Resiliency platform is built with a structure that allows you to build a business logic and relationship between these multiple tiers. So when it does the failover, it can fail over all tiers together. Because often what happens is when you have a full DR, you are cutting over everything to the DR side. So that's straightforward. But the often use case that catches people off guard is, well, it's not a DR event, but one server on-prem simply doesn't work anymore, right? So you need to fail over the group of associated applications all to the cloud to make it work. And Resiliency platform can do that. The other useful function in Resiliency platform is a DR rehearsal process, right? So it's good for people to fail over, but you need to also be able to do DR test and do DR audits, right? So it has what is called a rehearsal. What rehearsal does is virtually starts up the application in the cloud environment without connecting it to the network. So you can schedule these tasks as well. So the next DR test you have to do, you don't need to be there. You can schedule it. And you can script a test that you want to run against the DR environment and get a result out of that, whether it passed or failed. So you don't have to be there at the time where they are doing a DR test. It could do it for you, and you can come back the next day and see which DR events pass through, which ones fail, which ones you need to pay attention to. So that's Veritas Resiliency platform. So a couple of use cases. So this is a large customer in China who use the Resiliency platform to achieve their DR environment, and they're doing it with an AWS target. This is a case of another customer in Japan. Everyone knows who Perera is. So similarly, they are also using VRP, or Resiliency platform as we call it, to have their mission-critical workloads fail over from on-prem to AWS. So now I'll come to talking about a few advanced use cases. Now, sometimes you may not be looking at a full DR, but you may be looking at a migration approach, as in a cut-down approach of what Resiliency platform does. So our customers came to us, asked for that requirement. So what we did is we came out with a product called Cloud Mobility. Cloud Mobility is nothing but Resiliency platform in a cut-down license model. So it's designed to enable customers to do one-off migrations, right? So it's to fail over, but not to fail back, because if you want to fail over and fail back, then you need the full Resiliency product license. But if you want to do a one-off migration, Veritas Cloud Mobility can help you. So again, it has the business logic, it has the replication capability, and it still allows you to do pre-migration testing by way of the rehearsal function. And once you are happy with the pre-migration test, which you can script, you can do what is called just-in-time switchover, right? So you can schedule all these functions to happen in a time and place that you choose to. Cloud infrastructures also allow, as much as net backup can backup and recover data, cloud infrastructures also give you opportunities to put in place a protection plan by way of snapshots, right? So you can take a quick snapshot of an EC2 instance, an EBS volume, or an RDS database. So cloud also gives you a rich set of functions for achieving point in times that you can roll back to. And all you need is a tool to coordinate all these activities. So Veritas also launched another product, which was launched around July of 2017, so sometime back. What CloudPoint does is it's delivered in a unfamiliar format to anyone who's used a Veritas product before. If you use a Veritas product before, we send you software, then you install and configure on an application on an operating system of your choice. CloudPoint, built for cloud, is actually delivered as a Docker container. So the whole thing is a pre-packaged microservice. All you need to do with CloudPoint is log into your AWS account, load the Docker container, start up the container, and log into CloudPoint with your AWS account credential. So, if you are working with AWS, when you log into the account, the login ID you used allows you to automatically see your compute instances, your EBS volumes, and your RDS databases, right? So as simple as that, when you log into CloudPoint using your AWS account credential, it auto-discovers your EC2 instances, your EBS volumes, and your RDS databases. And once that discovery is there, you can put in place a schedule. The schedule ensures repeatable actions for these snapshots to be taken on a time-orderly manner. And you can put in place an important thing with snapshots, retention. Because often, customers who script snapshots forget to remove them because they don't assign retention. And then the poor man from procurement who pays the bill keeps scratching his head, what am I paying for? Oh, there's someone forgot to remove the snapshots, right? So with CloudPoint, you can drive snapshots and assign retention. So when the retention is reached, it will be taken out of the retention or place for storage. So it's purpose-built ground up for taking advantage of RESTful APIs. Now, a lot of our customers in the data centers do use NetBackup anyway. So what we decided to do was we decided to integrate CloudPoint and NetBackup. So if you're a customer, so if I take an average customer of mine who is in AWS, will have about 500 instances, and maybe out of 500, 300 are test and dev, and then 200 are serious production workloads. So if you deploy CloudPoint for an environment like that, and if you're happy with snapshots for test and dev, you can use CloudPoint to drive those backup and recovery actions using the native CloudPoint capabilities. And for those 200 workloads, which are serious production workloads where you need offsite copies, maybe backups to tape because compliance requirements, NetBackup can integrate with CloudPoint, and NetBackup uses CloudPoint as a backup tool, right? So you don't need to reconfigure those 200 using two products. You log into NetBackup, and through NetBackup, you drive the schedule and the retention. So they are integrated to jointly work together as well. So this is a case of a customer who used NetBackup with CloudPoint. And we have a customer right there, I'm from Sydney, who deployed CloudPoint recently. So they have been using NetBackup for many years. They have an AWS environment, so they wanted one solution that does both. So they are using CloudPoint and NetBackup in combination in that case. So I don't know how many of you know how long we've been around. Veritas is, in fact, 35 years in existence. It's a pretty long time, right? So a few of them may not, so I used to do this with Veritas before, and I used to do that with Veritas before. One of the things that defines us is we have constantly evolved as things change, right? We started back in the days then when it was Unix servers, then Unix became Linux, then it became Windows, then it became VMware, then it became cloud. Now everyone is consuming things like hyperconverged, right? So we are constantly listening to customers and innovating solutions. And what you would have heard today is, if you haven't heard of things like CloudPoint, if you haven't heard of things like SaaS backup or Infomap, is part of those evolutions because we are constantly trying to listen to our customers, tell us the problem, we'll define the best way of solving it, right? So it's a journey that we've been around, constantly enabling. And one of the things you'll realize is if you're looking for, like, the magic quadrant for backup or magic quadrant for archiving, if there's been a magic quadrant, if we have a product in that quadrant, we'll be in the leaders quadrant from the day the magic quadrant gets created. So that's so backup and recovery, for example, the magic quadrant has been around for 14 years. So we've been in the leaders quadrant of every magic quadrant for backup and recovery ever since it was created. And Veritas is now a privately held company, right? We were bought by a venture capitalist for about $8 billion worth. So that was the book value 2.5 years ago. We have a healthy pipeline of products and a good revenue model. So what I'm here to say is we are in here for the long run. And come and talk to us if you saw any of those strategies as being a helpful use case for your environment, right? So I want to leave you with this behind. I mean, if you're one of the first few people who came around, there's a gift you can collect in our booth. And next week, next Thursday, we will have a deeper dive session on all the things we have done around data protection right here in Canberra. So want to give a bit of spin for that because I'll be presenting at that event as well. All right, so I hope today's session was useful. We are around here, and our booth is over there. Come and talk to us if any of these things grab your attention. Thank you.